So no one told me they were using bloopers, number one, in that video. So that was fun. Number two, my glasses broke, so they're lying on the table there, so I can't see any of you. So this should be fun. Most importantly, I just feel this incredible sense of humility and pride in a weird way of being here. So genuinely thank you to you all. I hope this is not my Halle Berry Oscar moment, because I'm hoping I haven't peaked quite yet. There's lots more to do. For all of us, frankly, in this room, we owe it to Anne and Jamal and many more to come. So let me start by first saying, if someone had said to me, in 2022, Neeti, you would be standing in front of a room of very highly accomplished insurance and professionals, reinsurance professionals, brokers. By the way, they would be saying that to me as I was growing up in a town in India, running around barefoot, playing with snakes on a stick. I would have said, whatever you're smoking, can I have some of that, please? Truly, I could not even begin to imagine, like by any stretch of the imagination, the arc of life and the things that happen along the way that, you make choices that get you to where you are. And so I thought I would share just a little bit of, Teresa talked about the power of education and the power of leadership to catalyze change. And I thought I would just touch a little bit on both of those, because they've both played such an important role, the power of education and the power of leadership, in my journey to where I stand in front of you today. So I was born in India. I'm the firstborn daughter of two teachers. I have two brothers. And my mother was a math teacher, and my dad was a chemistry teacher. Let's just be fair, my mother was a better teacher than my dad was. My mom's father was a teacher. My mom was one of 9 children in India. My grandfather was a single income earner and brought up 9 children, and he had one goal, because he was the last surviving member of his family who had been lost either through the partition, the India-Pakistan partition, or to typhoid and other things along the way. And he had one ambition, one simple one. I'm going to put each and every one of my children through college. They will each graduate with a degree, regardless of whether they are the boys or they are girls. And he achieved it. He really did. And so I grew up in a family of educators, right? So what do you think life was all about? You gotta go to school, you gotta be a good student, right? You have to graduate college. And so I grew up very much with this deep understanding of education is what gets you out of where you are to where at least it gives you hope to be something more than what you were born into. So that was sort of my roots. Life, brought me to Kenya. I grew up in Kenya. And the next kind of momentous occasion in my life, frankly, was having the opportunity, Jamal and Ann and the other Spencer scholars in this room, to really, frankly, receive a scholarship that changed my life. And I can genuinely say it changed my life because you think back to inflection points. From that point on, I was always going to be seen as the recipient of that scholarship over and above anything else I had done up to that point, and it really opened doors for me that would never have been opened before. It's funny what a brand does for you, doesn't it? And so it changed my life because I met my husband in college. It changed my life because I owe my 2 beautiful twin daughters to that moment where, right, I chose, was blessed to be given that scholarship. I bring that up to say the power of education, right, in all seriousness, really comes down to accessibility, right? Do you have access to that education? And so many of us take that for granted, and yet for so many it is not accessible. For so many it's accessible up to a point, and then things happen. Frankly, when I applied for the Rhodes Scholarship, I did not tell my parents I was applying, partly because my mother had told me it was time for me to get married, and any future education would be funded by my husband if he so chose to put me through college. And I mean, the words my mother used was, "You will price yourself out of the market." Let's be fair. Those are the kind of sort of the words she used. So she said, "Go get a husband first, and then the rest will come." But I jest about it, but frankly, accessibility is something I think a lot of us take for granted. But I think that quest for knowledge, that quest for education, that paying it forward, that sense of responsibility, Jamal, you talked about, right? That is really critical, and I think it is something that I carry with me each and every day. Thanks to the Spencer scholarships, I actually took the opportunity to say, well, actually, how many Spencer Scholars are at Liberty Mutual? Because this is pretty cool. And it was actually a great occasion for us to actually pull together, Bob, we pulled together a few Spencer Scholars, didn't we, from around the company. And it was awesome. It was awesome for 3 reasons, frankly. One, they actually got to meet each other, some of them for the first time. And so that got us thinking, well, we need to create a bit of a community around this. 2, we got to talk a little bit about their journey. And everybody, pretty much. We were a group of 15 or so at the time, the ones who could make it to that meeting. And bar 2 of those 15, all 13 started with a joke that said, hey, when you meet someone in insurance, the first question they ask you is, how did you get here? What went wrong? And I said, you know, that is so interesting because it is so true in the time that I've been sort of getting to know you all in the industry. People's stories always start with either my family, right? Or they start with, oh, it was an accident. I thought I was applying to a bank. And then, you know, you all know who I'm talking about, right? Like, we all know this. And it really kind of gets me thinking, why? Why aren't we proud of what we do? Why aren't we proud of owning why we exist? Why aren't we proud to start with, I chose to do this? Because guess what? I chose to do this. I grew up on the investing side of the world. Yeah, I was on the asset side of the world. And I was observing our business from sort of the leadership table around Liberty Mutual. And I thought to myself, this is a freaking cool business. I want me a piece of that, right? And so I said, put me in, coach, right? When do we start to tell the story that way? Let's own it. And so I think Spencer does such a great job here of really not only creating the pipeline that Megan talked about, the diverse pipeline, the broad pipeline, but it creates ready talent, right? Because what's the other thing we've all come to learn about ourselves? We love efficiency, right? And so what's fallen by the wayside a little bit has been our investing in talent. It's been our development. It's been training. It's been that readiness for always that accessibility. I come back to that word, to allow people to continue to move through their careers and to dream bigger and to want more and to say, I want to be here. I chose this. So I think this is our opportunity, frankly, and maybe this is, you know, it's interesting. I'll sort of then pivot to the power of leadership in just the last couple of minutes. But at Liberty, we started where we were piloting sort of an internship. The Spencer Scholarships actually gave me an idea of this, and I said, let's pilot an internship for Rhodes Scholars. And so we invited our first 2 Rhodes Scholars to Liberty this past summer. And so I caught up with one of them today, and he said, this is the most amazing internship I have ever had. My life's work now makes sense when I've looked at it from the insurance side of the world, right? This is someone who's developing nature-based solutions, right? He's an academic. And he said, can I come back, right? Can I come back and do this? So I hope one of the things we take away from all this is this foundation does just an amazing, amazing job of providing access to those who are actually, either because the scholarship's available or because they want to, are choosing risk management as a career. Let's celebrate that, and let's continue to invest in it. So I think that's fantastic. I'll speak for 2 minutes on the power of leadership, because I think the other thing that I've sort of taken away from, by the way, the theme of all this is our moment, right? Like, we're at an inflection point. I think we all feel that. The power of leadership, in my mind, sort of boils down to, how do you define success? How do you define success, and how do we define expertise? Because that's the basis of our industry in a lot of ways, right? Expertise, risk. That's who we are. And so, you'll forgive me for saying it quite this way, but in the little time I've gotten to spend, and when I say little, 9 years, which frankly I'm a baby compared to many of you in this room, right? In the industry. Which is why I say, please don't let this be my Halle Berry moment. But anyway, in the little time I've been here, I find we define success as share of wallet, market share, margins, premium growth, right? All those great things, which is great. Listen, I love me a good competition, and I love winning, right? Like, I love saying, oh, we took this from this, and we did this, and like, that's great. But when are we going to start defining success as growing the pie, not just fighting over the existing pie? When are we going to start defining success as we attract talent, high-performing talent, diverse talent that wants to come to our industry? When do we start defining success as attracting capital into our industry as a whole, not just into the broker community? Yes, guys? How do we define success as growing our relevance? And I feel this is a dialogue we're having so much more of these days, aren't we? Like, it is so front and center for each and every one of us in so many ways. But this is our moment, I truly feel, to come together as an industry to say, how do we actually come together to define success in a slightly different way? Not to lose what we've defined it as, but just additive, right? Grow it. And the other part about expertise, in my mind, is, it's funny. On the investing side of the business, we'd say, every time you were underwriting a deal, right, they'd say, don't pick pennies in front of a steamroller, right, Vlad? That's the don't pick pennies. Insurance is exactly picking pennies in front of a steamroller, right? In fact, it's like, how many frickin' steamrollers do we need to throw ourselves in front of to pick pennies? And so it's great, because what that breeds is a sense of specialization, incremental improvement, risk awareness in a way that we all sort of really want to understand, which is fantastic, because we're a complex business and we're picking pennies in front of a steamroller. That has led us a little bit to become inward and defensive, though, hasn't it? And I think we all feel that way at times. And so in my mind, leadership at this point where we're at is very much starting to say, how do we reach outward? And how do we, again, I come back to, how do we own who we are, what our role is in society, and how do we step up to it? That's what gets me excited. And I always sort of say, perspective is the window through which we view the world around us, and it's influenced by our backgrounds, our friends, our families. Mine is influenced growing up in a family of educators who viewed success simply as go get a college degree, then the rest is up to you, right? The rest is up to you part. I have had mentors, I have had guides, I have had people who just lifted me a little bit along the way and showed me a different perspective. They opened my eyes up in a way that I wasn't thinking about before. They allowed me to dream. And I think this is what over time we discover, that our objective, right, as leaders of our industry is to continue to widen that window, that perspective for the incoming people into our industry, because without a doubt, our industry needs a diversity of perspective. It needs a diversity of talent. So, like I said, scholarships open doors for people, and a Spencer Scholarship has a lifetime value. It does more than just shave a few $1,000s, right, off tuition. It's an investment in a foundation, a network that will grow every year, that sense of community. So I am so very proud, because the scholarship has the power to change lives, and those lives have the power to change our industry. I am so very proud to announce that Liberty Mutual is pledging a donation of $1 million to Spencer Educational Foundation over the next 10 years. So, this girl from India thanks you for this incredible honor. I promise you we will continue to drive ourselves forward. We have a great value proposition. We have to believe in it, and then we have to go out and lead with it. And Bob said, I love leading from the front. Let's go do it. Thank you all.